guys, Katy Huller here with KidsCanReadAndWrite.com. Did you know that a lot of people say that E and D make 3 different sounds? Those sounds would be the ed or kind of id sound, or the d sound, or the t sound, okay? And there's a worksheet that a lot of kids are coming home with where first they have to underline the root word. Now, what is a root word? A root word is the main word, the word that could stand by itself without the extra ending or prefix added on. So the root word in hunted would be hunt. The root word in filmed would be film. The root word in dressed, can you guess what it is? Dress. Okay, if you take that ed ending off, ed is a suffix. You should be able to take a suffix off and see the root word. So if we take the ed off, what's the word before it? Press. If we take the ed off, what's the word before it? Chill. If we take the ed off, what's the word before it? Rent. Okay, do you see how that works? Ed is a suffix. It's a word ending, something you add on to show that something has already happened. When we see ed and we're reading, normally we just want to say duh. Okay, that's a normal sound. It's just that duh sound. But if the ed comes after a t or a d, that sound changes. And so when you see a T or a D right before the ed ending, it's too hard to say ta-da or da-da. So we say ta-ed, ted, or da-ed, dead. Ted or dead. I always say Ted's not dead. He's just sleeping. I have this whole story about a dog named Ted who sleeps a lot. Everyone thinks he's dead. Their owner runs in and says, oh, shoot, Ted's not dead. He's just sleeping. So when you see T-E-D or D-E-D, that is when you're going to hear that ed, or sometimes if people slur it, say it really quickly, it might sound more like id. Okay, so whenever it's after a T or a D, that's when you're going to hear that ed or id kind of sound. Now, when you're spelling and you hear ed or id after a word that you can do, well, that needs to be spelled with an ed ending, because ed endings mean you've already done whatever it was before that. So with that said, let's go through this and see how you would fill out this chart with your kids. Because I had a parent ask me about this the other day. She had no idea how to classify these words with her child. And so we went over it, and I thought you might benefit from me going over it as well. Now, if your child is having trouble just reading these words, well, look up the Black Belt Reading Program at kidscanonlineacademy.com, because in that program, I actually teach you how to teach your kids to read and write. We go over all the tricks, how to sound out words, how to do so effectively and efficiently so that you can teach your kids how to do it in a way that makes sense to them, even if they have dyslexia or another SLD. So look up the Black Belt Reading Program. Again, you can get that at kidscanonlineacademy.com or at kidscanreadandwrite.com. But let's say your child can read all of these words, but has no idea how to classify them. So let me show you how we do that. So remember, we have 3 categories. We have the ed or id. Those are generally going to be the ones that come after a T or a D ending, because that's when we say to ed or da-ed, okay? And then we have the ed endings that sound like a duh. And then we have some that when you say the word really quickly, that duh turns into more of a t sound. Now it's really saying duh, but when we say it really quickly, it's hard for our mouths to move quite the right way, and it slurs into a t. So what does ed really say? duh, or it can say, you know, ed or id. But when we say things quickly, sometimes ed will end up sounding like a t. And that's why when you're spelling and you hear tuh or duh at the end of a word you can do, you want to remember to put that ed ending, okay? So let's go through these. Hunted. Do you hear the ed? Hunted. Hunted. Do you hear the ed? So that would go in this column. Ed. That's that. Ted's not dead. Now what about this word? Let's say the word. Filmed. Say it quickly. Filmed. What did you hear when we got there? Filmed. Do you hear the duh sound? So even when we say this quickly, filmed. I filmed a new movie. Filmed. It's going to sound like that duh at the end. So we're going to write that one here. Duh. What do you put when you hear duh after a word you can do? You can film. So when you hear that duh, you want to put that ed ending. Means I already did it. All right. So we've got this one. How about this one? Duh. Remember, R says r, not Dressed. Dressed. Now when we read it dressed. But when we say it quickly, I got dressed. Do you hear how that duh ending really changes to a t ending? Even though when we sound it out, we go dressed. When we say fast, I got dressed. Do you hear how it sounds like a t? That's why a lot of people teach that ed makes 3 sounds. So we're going to put that one under that t ending because s. Can you dress? Can anyone dress? If the answer is yes, when you hear that t or d ending, it's really an ed because you can do this, okay? It means we already did it. I got dressed. All right, so we've done that one. How about this one? Pressed. Like I pressed down on something. Pressed. What do you hear? Pressed. Say it fast. Pressed. Do you hear what happened? Even though ed says duh, when we say it quickly, pressed. I pressed down. It sounds like a tuh, right? That's why we're going to put that one over here. Can you press something? Yes. So even though it sounds like a tuh, I'm going to put ed for that ending because I can press something. I pressed down. All right. Starting to get the hang of it. Do you see what I'm doing? It's not about just sounding it out. It's about saying it quickly so you can hear what that ending does. Does it stay like a duh or does it slur into the tuh? Or is it after a T or a D and saying ed? Okay, let's see. Read this one. We have our CH trick. Ill. Chilled. Chilled. Now say it quickly. Chilled. I got chilled out in the wind. Chilled. Do you hear it? It keeps sounding like a duh. It doesn't slur to the tuh. So for that one, we're going to put right here under that duh column. We've got to protect this vowel. Chill. Duh. Can you chill something? Can you get chilled? Yes. So I add my ed. There we go. Chilled. All right. Let's try this one. All right. First thing we have to do is read it. Rent. And here's that. Remember, if it comes after a T or a D ending, we say ed. Okay, so ed, rented. See that? Rented. Do you hear that? Ted's not dead ending. Ed or ed. Ted is going to go over here. That has the ed sound. Rented. Now, some people might say we rented a movie. That's why in this column they say ed or id. Because when you say it quickly, if you slur it, you might say, oh, we rented a movie. Instead, we rented a movie. Rented is officially correct, but how will you hear lots of people saying it? Rented. Same word, just somebody slurring it more than the other person. So rented, we're going to spell that. Rent. And if you notice your child's leaving out that quiet N, really drag it out. Rent. Ed. It's a good idea to make sure that when it's time for your child to fill in the column, that you kind of cover these and see if they can sound them out. Help them sound them out. Help them know how to spell them. That's really important. It's good spelling practice if you do that too. So you want to have your child read these. You want to have your child spell them. That's all part of it. So let's see. Let's move over here. See how you do with these. Take a second and just see if you can get these in the right columns on your own. And then when you're done, unpause the video. So just pause the video, see if you can put these in the right places, then unpause it, and let's see if you got them correct. All right, so let's see. We have smelled. Smelled. Now say it quickly. Smelled. 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 It's not smelt, right? We're not going to put it under T because it's not smelt, it's smelled. Smelled. So do you hear how it sounds like a duh? It's going to go right here. Granny, smell. Due to the floss rule, we're going to double that L if we were just writing smell. We also have to make sure that E is protected before our ED ending. Smelled. Can you smell something? Yes, you can. It needs that ED ending because you can do it. All right, did you get that one right? Let's see about this one. Bala, and. Bala, and. It's after a T or a D, so we say ed. Ted's not dead, right? So it's either Ted after a T or dead after a D. This is after a D, dead. Bala, and, ed. Blended. All right, so what did you hear? Did you hear ta, da, or ed or id? Blended. Blended. Do you hear the ed? So that's going to go in our first column. Make sure your child's remembering which way B's and D's go. When they form a B, make sure they're starting with the back and then doing the circle, okay? When they do a D, you want them to start with the circle and then do the stick. You want two different ways of making it so they can keep it straight. You always move this way with the word. So if I'm writing ba, I start with the back, then I do the circle. If I'm writing da, I start with the da, daddy's face, then I have them climb up the ladder. That's a good way to help these B's and D's stay straight, which can be a real problem with ED endings. All right, so we're gonna write bala and daddy's face, then climb up the ladder, blend, ed, daddy's face, then climb up the ladder. Okay, blended. All right, one more, let's see where it goes. Kara. Remember, don't say for R. ER, IR, and UR all say R does not say You will mess your child up with spelling if you're reading it crunched. They probably will get crunched in the end, but when they go to spell it, they're gonna think ER, IR, UR. So if they learn their phonics. So you want them to hear a difference between kra and right? You don't want those to get confused. Same with bara or butter, okay? We want to make sure R is ra, kra, Crunched. Now when we read it, we're going to say duh, crunched. Let's put it together quickly. Crunched, crunched. See how my tongue doesn't really have enough time to make the full duh sound, so it slurs into the tuh? Crunched. He crunched his food. That's why some people say ed says tuh. Really, we're the ones who make it say tuh, but it really is saying duh. So you can sound it out with a duh, but when you say it quickly, crunched, you might hear that tuh sound. So that's why this column exists. Remember, C and the H say cha. And then, can you crunch something? Yes. Past tense, ed, and a. So there you go, guys. That's what that worksheet is asking you to do. That's how you get the 3 different sounds, even though it's really just 2. When you're reading it, you're either going to say that ed after a T or a D, or that duh, duh, duh for any other letter, after any other letter. So duh, duh, duh. Ed here, but duh, duh, there. So usually you're just going to say duh for an ed ending. Don't worry about, oh, should I say duh or should I say tuh? When you say it quickly, it will slur into the one that, it's going to slur into. So the only time you have to really change the sound of ed is after that T or after that D. And that's when we have that Ted's not dead, tuh-ed or duh-ed. That ed, or maybe when we slur it, id sound. So, hope that helps, guys. Again, if you need help with phonics, if you need help learning the tricks to learning to read and write, look up our Black Belt reading program. I took years to put that together so that you guys would have a roadmap, something to follow that would just help you know what to say to your child to make reading and writing easy, and to give you all the practice papers you need so your child can practice it and grow in just feeling really good and strong about reading, to get that confidence that only comes from being good at things. So if you need help teaching your child to read or write, or maybe you want to learn to read or write and you want to start from the very, very basic beginnings, look up the Black Belt reading program. And if you need something more advanced, get in touch with me, because I'm working on making more advanced versions now, and by the time you see this, maybe I'll have them done, or maybe you'll get me to step up my game and work faster. In any case, guys, I hope this blesses you. I hope this helps make that worksheet make a lot more sense, and I hope you have a great time helping your child learn to read and write. Thanks so much for joining me. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tune in next time. See you soon.